truth be told, it's one of the #1 questions that drives people to EHI's website. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So I'm hoping that this video will give you some insight into what your astral body is all about, because truth be told, every one of us has one. I'm Jill Lee, founder and director of the Energy Healing Institute. The astral body is completely non-physical. There is no body associated with the body because, in fact, it is a plane. It is a field of awareness. I love working in the planes and understanding the bodies and how they influence and create our reality. And the astral body is all about your emotional awareness, your conscious connection to your day-to-day experience, including your experience of having, of course, a physical body. But that is an entirely separate energy system. So oftentimes people think, oh, there's 7 chakras and there's an aura, and that's the energy body. That is an energy body. The astral body begins at the surface of your skin and extends outward from the body. And so it exists out here, and that's your aura. But of course, you have chakras in here, and those chakras have their own functions and roles in your system. But when we talk about the astral body as a plane of consciousness, we're talking about it being part of the 7 planes of consciousness that were articulated many years ago in both the Eastern traditions and in Western society when the Theosophists went to work on understanding consciousness. That was all back in the 1840s and 50s and 60s and so forth. And it was fascinating to do a bunch of reading about that. I used to be on the board of the Theosophical Society in Boston, and it really enjoyed reading some of that really dry, really Victorian information that set us up for modern times. Because that's one really important thing to know, is we operate in the Western chakra system and not the Eastern chakra system. Perhaps if you went to an ashram in India and lived there for months and months and months at a time and did all of the asanas and all of the meditation practices, you would certainly be migrating your energy system towards the Eastern way of operating. But most of us live in Western society. We're not in an ashram every day, and we're doing things with our lives like grocery shopping and going to work and raising children and whatever else we do in Western society. And that energy system is a different structure than what you might think it is. So interestingly, a man named John Friedlander, who I studied with for many years back in the early 90s into about 2002 or so, when I went out on my own working with energy on a full-time basis, he has done this magnificent thing looking at the planes of consciousness and discovering these subplanes within the plane. And EHI and I am a beneficiary of that information. I learned it from John, and it has really shifted the way that I work with energy and my practitioners work with energy. John is clairvoyant, so he was looking at the planes and he discerned 7 subplanes within the astral plane. And that each one of these planes has a different function, performs a different task. Now, this is not the chakras. I'm just going to remind you, this is not the chakras. These are planes of consciousness, and the subplanes operate within the plane. And they inform all of us. The subplanes and the planes inform all of us, your chakras and your aura in your astral body inform you. So your seventh chakra does your connection divinity, and my seventh chakra does mine. So again, chakras are over here in the body. Planes are external to all of us and inform all of our awareness. So one of the things that is really interesting is that the planes, unlike the chakras, work from densest to lightest as do the chakras, but they're numbered in reverse. So your first chakra is your densest chakra, your seventh chakra is your least dense chakra. In the subplanes, the seventh astral subplane is the most dense subplane, and it is labeled the seventh subplane. So one of the things that comes through the seventh subplane is some of the viewpoints about God and religion. So this is the densest subplane in our overall field of awareness of the non-tangibles of life, the emotional plane. So God and religion vibrating in that lowest subplane. Just above that, in the sixth astral subplane, are energies that resonate pretty strongly with things like the political divisions, divisiveness that we see so much of in our world right now. So it doesn't take too long to realize that a lot of our fundamentalist, our perhaps evangelical, our galvanized thinking is happening in our least light and vibrant subplanes in our astral awareness. Very interesting information. Fifth subplane. So now we're going up 7, 6, 5. Okay, we're moving up in vibrational awareness. One of the things I love about this is that your pet's emotions resonate here. I'm not going to make any judgments around that. 5 is pets, 6 is political hatred, 7th is viewpoints about God and religion. It's interesting. One of the things that's very cool about animals is that their emotions just are. They don't judge anything. If they're tired, they're tired. If they're happy and frisky, they're happy and frisky. There's no right or wrong with pets' emotions. They're very, very simple, aren't they? Even though they may have lots of emotions. I have a very expressive dog, and she's got a lot to say about a lot of things, but they're still very clean and simple. I'm hungry. I want to eat right now. I need attention. So that's our fifth subplane of the astral. Now, the fourth subplane of the astral starts getting into some of our really strong human emotions, and they may be on the more difficult side. They may be, let's call them darker energies, perhaps things like depression, perhaps things like feeling lost, grief. These kinds of emotions exist in the fourth subplane of the astral. Now, if you feel sad, if you're in grief, it's not like you wake up and say, I'm grieving today, so I'm going to vibrate in the fourth subplane of the astral today. That doesn't happen. But when you are grieving, when you are sad, if you are depressed, if you have those kinds of emotional experiences going on in your life, then that's where your energy is kind of hanging out. And ideally, we'd spend most of our time in the third subplane of the astral, one subplane higher. And that's where your emotions are hanging out most of the time. So if you think about your day-to-day activities, you go to work, you come home, you make dinner, you watch a show, you read, whatever you do, you're probably spending the majority of the day in that third subplane. However, if something profound happens, maybe something deeply moving and spiritual. You go to lunch with a friend and that friend tells you a story that uplifts your spirit and makes you feel connected to all that is. Well, then you're probably moving out of the third subplane and into the second subplane of the astral. And this is where your higher emotions live: compassion, grace, that connection, that sense of connection to all that is. Perhaps gratitude, generosity. Those kinds of emotions would resonate in the second subplane of the astral. And when you are experiencing those emotions, again, it's not about, oh, I'm going to go to the second subplane right now and I'm going to be grateful. You're grateful. And in that gratitude, your awareness shifts organically into that second subplane. And then lastly, the first subplane of the astral. This is the highest subplane within the astral plane. And this is where the higher self energies live. So, what's important to know about that? I have to be honest. There is a very new agey kind of way of thinking about the self and saying, my higher self wants me to blah, 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 as if the higher self is way out there somewhere looking down on the you that is you and saying, why don't you do this? That'll be awesome. Well, what I love about this is that the first subplane of the astral is the higher self energies. Your astral plane informs you every single day. The astral, your higher self isn't out there. Your higher self is right here. And so, if in fact you get an insight that you should do X, Y, or Z, I'd much rather see you claim it as you in connection to yourself right here, knowing that you need to do X, Y, or Z. So that's your astral body. You have the plane of awareness that all of us operate within. So what that does is it quantifies and codifies our understanding of emotions. Anger does not mean mad to me and joy to you. Anger is anger, right? And joy is joy. We all have access to all of the emotions that are in the world, right? In our field of awareness, because all of the information about those emotions is codified within the planes. The experience, the feeling of those emotions lives within you. So that's your astral body. If you want to learn more about the chakras and the aura, I strongly recommend watching the videos on the astral chakras and the aura. And there are two versions. One is a sort of a mechanical version where each chakra is described. And then the other version is what kinds of patterns can implicate the functioning of each chakra. So there are two sets of videos on each one of the chakras inside of the YouTube channel. So that wraps up the astral body.